Should be. All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to our live for diversity and inclusion for tourism, recovery in a post-COVID Belize. We'll give it a couple more minutes for viewers to join in. Then we'll jump right in.
For everyone who is joining, if you don't mind me jumping in, I did have a question about just where everyone's coming from, and then maybe if you're within the travel industry or if you're just a traveler, it'd be great to get a little bit of a better sense of who's in the audience.
Perfect, Kelly. So for everyone in the audience, if you don't mind adding to the comments to just say, who you are, if you're representing an organization, which country you're from, just let us know who's joining in and tuning in and watching with us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, we are a minute away. So we'll go ahead and just jump right into it. So to our viewers, thank you very much for joining us on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. Yes. So we'll just jump right into it. My name is Sylvia Bate. I am one of co-director and co-founder of Heritage Education Network Belize. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to our viewers. Hello, Ilona. Hello, everyone. Yes, so a little bit about our organization. Heritage Education Network Belize was launched in 2020. We're nearing our 1-year anniversary, and we'll have a couple exciting things coming up this month, so look out for that. But yes, Heritage Education Network Belize was launched in 2020 as a response to the COVID pandemic in Belize. The broad overarching goal of our organization is to provide support for the cultural and creative industries in Belize, the stakeholders with which we've worked for quite a number of years. Our organization is a merger between Bahine Archaeology Outreach and Crabo Creative Travel. And it is dedicated to promoting culture, heritage, archaeology, inclusivity in general to our network of stakeholders in Belize. And here we have a couple of people who we have worked with and some new faces. And we're very excited to bring this live to you. So today we are going to talk about diversity and inclusion for tourism recovery in a post-COVID Belize. And this is a part of our business and tourism live series. We also have a series on archaeology, and we also have a series on mental wellness. For all of these videos, you can check us out on YouTube. All of our videos are online and available for everyone to see. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Heritage Belize. And for those interested in reaching out to us, you could send us an email at heritagebelize@gmail.com. With us today, we have three faces from organizations that work locally and internationally in tourism and tourism inclusivity. First of all, we have Miss Felicita Cantun. Hi, Miss Fel, from Kanan, Miatsil, Guardians of Culture up in Orange Walk. We also have Nikolai Alvarado from BLAST, the Belize Local Association for Stakeholders in Tourism. Welcome and thank you both. And last but not least, we have Kelly Louise from Impact Travel Alliance. And I'll give our panel a chance to introduce themselves, starting with you, Kelly, and then we'll move on to Ms. Phil and to Nikolai. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Kelly, and I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called Impact Travel Alliance. And if you're not familiar with ITA, we are a global community and nonprofit that's aimed at improving the world through travel. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about achieving that mission, but the way that specifically we're focused on at Impact Travel Alliance is by educating travelers how to explore in a way that has a positive impact on local communities and the environment. So we have a lot of content and initiatives that are all centered around that theme of improving the world through travel, and that comes to life through educational events, online programming, articles, and then we also work closely with a lot of media because we have a firm belief in the power of storytelling to transform our world.
Thank you for that, Kelly. Ms. Fel?
Sure. Malab kinti tulakalesh. Inkabae Felicita Cantun. Inno kahale Belize. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Felicita Cantun. I am a Mayan cultural activist to promote social change in my Mayan community with a cultural vision. That is the promotion of various aspects of the Mayan culture. Therefore, I am with the protection and restoration of tangible cultural heritage. At present, I am the president of Kanan Miatsil. Kanan Miatsil is a Mayan word or Mayan phrase for, when translated to English, it means guardians of culture. This NGO non-governmental organization is located in Yo Creek Village in the Orange Rock District, Belize, Central America. Kanan Miatsil is the big umbrella under which we have other groups. Namely, we have Mayanai, that is Mayan Dream, a group of youths where we do traditional dances. We have Shmehiko Lelob, that is working women, where we have the traditional foods. We have Hulkin, sun rays, where we have the children coming in with their pre-Hispanic music. We have Ekbalam, that is Black Jaguars, the champions, two-time champions of the Mayan ball game Poctapok. We were champions in El Salvador and where? Two countries. So we are the champions of the Poctapok Mayan ball game. So that is who I am, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fel, and thank you for that introduction in Yucatec Maya and for having Indigenous and mother language on the forefront and present in our life. Last but not least, Nikolai from BLAST.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nikolai Alvarado, representing the Belize Local Association of Stakeholders in Tourism, BLAST. BLAST is a family, you could say, right? BLAST was created last year, 2020. We're new to the scene here in Belize, but although we're new, we have been stirring up a lot of dust and paths along the way. We've been making a lot of progress, helping out our members, right? We have helped them with the COVID relief funding, getting their gold standards, different training. So BLAS is here to stay, and we represent all the local tour operators, tour guides, vendors, any local stakeholders in Belize. That's who we try to represent to the fullest. Our team consists of 14 board members representing the entire country of Belize. That way we don't left out anyone in the country, representing even the Keys. So we have 2 representatives from the Keys, 2 from each district, hence the 14 board members. BLAS, we are fully prepared to represent you guys, any tour guides, like I said, any vendors. If you guys are wanting to get prepared for the new opening when tourism reopens sometime soon, we hope, right? Or if you want to be helped along the way, encouraged along the way, that's what BLAS is here for. We have a chat group that is very active on WhatsApp, and we interact with each other every day, trying to lift each other's spirits, keep each other floating, right? So if you want to be a part of BLAS, we are here to help you guys along the way as well, right? That's us.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that introduction as well, and for your participation, Nikolai. All right, now that we have our organizations and our panels introduced, we will jump right into the presentations. Just for everyone who's viewing, the structure of this presentation or this live will be 3 short presentations on the different topics of diversity, tourism, and inclusion specific to Belize. And then we will have a short discussion where we will engage and interact with the viewer comments. So if you have any comments, you can go ahead and leave them in the live, and we will get to them. And so we're looking forward to have an engaging and open discussion with everyone. And again, for people who may have just joined in, if you could just leave us a comment telling us who you are, where you're from, which organization you're representing, or if you are in the tourism industry, we'd appreciate that, just so that we get to know our viewers a little bit more. And with that, we will jump in with our first presentation with Kelly from Impact Travel Alliance. Yes.
Are you able to share the presentation? And I can
Yes.
just tell you.
Yes, I am
Perfect.
able to do that. One moment.
I'll actually just go ahead and start. I can see it on my screen, and then whenever you can pull it up, we'll have perfect. You're ahead of me. You can jump over to the next slide. So thank you so much again for having me here. I connected with Ella originally through a presentation that's very similar to this one that I led on the intersection of diversity and inclusion within the travel industry. And she asked me if I could repurpose it so that we could talk about it through the context of Belize. So a little bit about me. My name, as I said, is Kelly. I'm a travel entrepreneur who is passionate about storytelling and sustainability. As I mentioned, I'm the founder and executive director of Impact Travel Alliance, and I'm also a freelancer who works with brands in the travel and impact space. So over the course of my career, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with brands both big and small, all of whom are tied by their themes that are rooted in travel and sustainability. I do also want to point out that I live in New York City, and I am speaking from a New Yorker's perspective. The speakers following me are, of course, from Belize and in Belize, and so I'd like to really focus most of the conversation today on what they have to say and really focus on amplifying their perspectives. But my goal is that my presentation can act as a little bit of an umbrella looking at the global industry as a whole with some key actions and takeaways that can be applied to Belize as well. So I did want to start off with a conversation around a quick just definition on sustainable tourism. I heard someone describe it the other day as saying it's clear as mud, which is a funny way of thinking about sustainable tourism. I think so often we talk a lot about sustainable travel, and everyone seems to have a little bit of a different definition for it. And I just really wanted to distill that down into looking at how travel can have a positive impact on people, planet, and profit. And with that definition in mind, we're not looking at a niche within the industry. We're really looking at an umbrella that can be applied to any destination, budget, or travel style. Next slide, please. So when done mindfully and when done sustainably, tourism has the potential to change our world. It can support local communities, protect our environment, and do all of these other really incredible things through something that is as universally appealing as travel. It leads to more rewarding and richer experiences, and ultimately it's better for us as travelers as well as the locals that we're visiting as well. And despite all of this, and I think that oftentimes I find myself in a position where I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, because someone who's familiar with sustainable tourism and its benefits really sees how, again, it's better for every party who's involved, every stakeholder who's involved, yet it still represents just a small part of the industry at large. And one of the reasons that I believe that this is the case is because far too often we're talking to the same people who have the same viewpoints as we do, and we're just sitting around agreeing with one another. So again, to preface all of this, all of our conversations today, you can't advocate for a more sustainable industry without first talking about issues that are rooted in social justice. I also wanted to define a term called intersectionality, which is incredibly useful in thinking about how social and economic and environmental components are all related to one another. Intersectionality is a term that was coined in 1989 by Kimberly Crenshaw to describe how race, class, gender, and other characteristics intersect and overlap with one another. And I think that's really important in terms of thinking about how oftentimes we think about sustainable tourism, and the knee-jerk reaction might be to think about the environment or ecotourism. But really, the bigger picture there is that sustainable tourism has we need to look at it through a very holistic lens and understand how and why environmental issues are also tied deeply to social issues as well. So again, I am speaking about this from the context of a New Yorker. I'm sure many of you are aware of the rise in consciousness that's been happening around the Black Lives Matter movement, and how people within the States are finally starting to realize that it's important that we are keeping Black travelers and tourism professionals top of mind within the industry, and actually incorporating them into our plans to move forward and build back a stronger industry in a post-COVID world. So the statistics that I've pulled here, again, are specific to my perspective in terms of being in the United States, and Black Americans are a really big focal point for us right now and what we need to focus on. But these same sort of learnings can be applied to a model in Belize as well. So just as two quick statistics, Black Americans contribute 23% less to climate change, but bear 21% more of the harms when compared to other racial groups. And at the same time, among Fortune 500 companies, less than 1% of CEOs are Black, and none of those are tourism-related professions. And so we have this very interesting space where we have an echo chamber of individuals who are passionate about sustainable tourism, yet they remain a niche within the industry, and they're talking about these problems that a group of individuals are facing, but they're not always including them in the conversations to build solutions. So you can go ahead and jump to the next slide. I also wanted to point out that Again, this is for the United States, but Hispanic and Latino and Black Americans are more willing than whites to join a campaign to convince elected officials to take action to reduce global warming. And so all of these things in mind, it's kind of just like, this is crazy that someone could be so passionate about sustainable tourism, and there's a lot of solutions that exist out there and people who are willing to rally beside you, but we're not paying attention to some of the other big picture issues at the same time. Go ahead. So all of that is just to say that complex problems require complex solutions. The travel and tourism industry represents 10% of the world's GDP. It is the world's largest industry. And in order for us to move sustainable tourism beyond a niche within the industry and really push it into the mainstream, we have to use diverse voices in that problem-solving process. This is a graphic that I love. We reference it a lot at Impact Travel Alliance. Everyone has a different position in terms of where they are on it. And you're able to kind of map out how closely you are to a position of power. And I like using this graphic in the context of this presentation just to really reiterate here that the closer that you are to that position of power, the more that you should be using that position of power to advocate for and amplify the voices of anyone who's on the outside edges. I also wanted to share that this is a movement, not a moment. So we need to make sure that our actions reflect that attitude. In the United States, again, there was a lot of backlash against individuals who just posted a black square on their Instagram in the midst of the protests that were occurring. And a black square doesn't do that much, and it disappears into your social media feed. So we need to go beyond that and actually do the work and make sure that our actions reflect the attitude. So I've outlined a couple of ways to get started. I'm a very action-oriented individual, so I did put together a couple of accounts that are on social media that have a focus on sustainability. In particular, Sun and Stilettos is Lily Garma, and she's a journalist at Skift. She's also written guidebooks on Belize. She is incredibly smart and incredibly articulate in the way that she presents ideas around sustainable tourism. And there's a lot of other creators out there who share a voice and a mission that's rooted in mainstreaming sustainability. So it's easy to go out and find those accounts and research them. In Belize, it could be looking for local voices. It could be looking for indigenous voices. Go out and find them, listen to what they're saying, and support their work. Next, this is a little bit more in-depth. So I'm asking you to learn to see the unseen and advocate for change. So oftentimes when we're learning how to become a better ally or to practice anti-racism, it's kind of like taking off blinders where you're not aware of all of these other things that existed outside of the realm of your own bubble that you might have been existing within. So there's opportunities here for us to take a big step back and say, okay, where am I right now? Where is my company right now? And how can I move forward? The very first step that I would recommend is to audit your company. We actually, at Impact Travel Alliance, the Black Travel Alliance, asked everyone to look at their specific metrics in their data and to report upon it. And we dug deep into our metrics and are tracking it so that we can look at progress on a year-over-year basis. So this allows us to be able to hold the industry and ourselves as well to be accountable. And lastly, I'm asking you to use your purchase power. So this month at Impact Travel Alliance, and any month as well, we have been challenging our community to support diverse-owned, impactful brands. There's a few that I have their pictures at the bottom here. These are speakers for an event later this week. And we are really looking for ways to support and amplify the voices of diverse owned brands, and then asking travelers to go out and purchase from them, because that really is something that helps to level the playing field and support the projects that they are working on. So if you're interested in learning more about this project, you can visit impacttravelalliance.org/diversity. Last but not least, I have a couple of quick resources. There's 2 books on both sides. Beyond Guilt Trips is by Anu Taranath, and it is a fantastic read about your own personal identity and how you navigate the world. And All We Can Save is edited by Ayanna Johnson and Catherine Wilkinson. It talks about climate solutions for how we can move forward, and it's a collection of different essays from people of color and indigenous voices, all of whom are women. In the middle is Intersectional Environmentalist, which is another great resource. And to close, I love this quote. You have to act like it were radically possible to change the world, and you have to do it all the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that very thorough and very eye-opening presentation, Kelly. We will move on to the presentation by Ms. Felicita Cantun to sort of follow that with Indigenous Belizeans perspective, and then we'll move over to Blast.
Yep.
One moment, Ms. Bell, while I share the presentation for you. Hi, Ms. Bell, you can go ahead.
Yes, okay, the first slide. Okay. COVID-19 is the most wide-reaching economic crisis Belize, and in fact, our world has faced. It has significantly impacted practically every aspect of business operations, especially the tourism industry here in Belize. Living it, we cannot just stay back and lament and cry, but we needed, as Kanan Miatsil, we cite necessary to do something about this crisis. We found out that working in groups, in associations or cooperatives are recognized as important partners to achieve sustainability because it's a democratic group. It promotes democracy, it enhances income, and it fosters social inclusion. It focuses on identification and use of the strengths, the gifts, the talents, and resources that communities can mobilize for sustainable development. As I mentioned previously, the women's group, the associations and cooperatives mobilizes resources and builds the capacity of local residents to work together to improve social and economic conditions in our communities. We had talents in the group. We saw that there were some girls, some ladies who were very good in sewing dolls. Therefore, it was decided, okay, instead of just sewing any doll, make the doll, dress the doll as a Maya Yucatec in the traditional clothing, and therefore that was done. And we noticed that it is sold better than just any other little doll that ladies used to make. That is in the first slide, the second one, where you see the dolls, the dolls dressed as Maya Yucatec. Also, the ladies in the group, they sew the dress, they embroider the dress. So that is one way that we decided. That is why Kanan Miatsil has other groups, like the women's group, as I mentioned, the youth group. Okay. The second slide was the one where we had the dolls. Yes. If you notice, the dolls are dressed as Maya Yucatec, which are beautiful headpiece, their shawl, the embroidered traditional clothing. And that was one of the ways in which the groups, the association Kanan Miatsil organized the women and the youths. Another way for sustainability and culture is the second slide, the third one, okay, the one after the dolls. To build a sense of community belonging. Here, Kanan Miatsil is also tasked to bring back our spirituality. Here, the members are celebrating a Mayan baptism. And as a sense of community belonging, everybody contributed towards this activity. The women were in charge of the food. The youths were in charge of the decoration. Another group was in charge of the spirituality. Another group was in charge of promoting the event. The fact that sense of community belonging, because having a sense of community belonging is a feeling that every member matters to one another and to the group. The sense of belonging improves motivation. It develops love, bond, and a desire to give back to the group, which helps in improving and developing the group. Mayan baptism, Mayan weddings, energy cleansing, all these help to develop this sense of community belonging. And the members in the group feel confident, feel good that they belong to this group. It improves their sense of belonging, and they want to work more with the group for sustainable development. The next slide. Okay. Develop season activities and engage local communities, especially the youths and the women. Engaging children from when they are small, the youths and the adults, and community members through education, leadership development, and behavioral transformation. In our association, we involve the youths in season activities. What you're seeing in this slide, we have the young girls dressed with their traditional clothing, which the mothers embroider, and they are learning to embroider it. On the left-hand side, you see again the girls. In this slide, we were celebrating Belize's independence, and for the first time, we had a group who how would I say it, who delivered the Belizean flag to the authorities in the town. And they did it in a nice way. They did it marching, and all the commands were done in the Mayan language. Therefore, we develop, we learn, we teach the youth the language. And these are activities that we do in the community. Seasonal activities. For example, for Christmas, we do our presentations in Maya. For International Language Day, we sing in 3 languages. We sing in Maya, we sing in Spanish, we sing in English. We make up our poems in 3 languages. We listen to stories. We do storytelling in the 3 languages. Therefore, we develop season activities to engage the local community, especially the women and the youths. Next slide, please. Okay. Effective marketing strategy. This one is, okay, to create a successful business, you must build an effective marketing strategy. How can this be done? Well, Kanan Miatsil members came in together and we brainstormed and we came up with some points which we thought would help us market Kanan Miatsil. First, it should be that we must set clear goals. We must know what we want. We must know how we will achieve our objective and when. What, how, and when. What do we want? How? Will we use Facebook? Will we use Twitter? Will we use Instagram? That's the how and the when. When do we want to see Kanan Miatsil there? Also, identify the best way to accomplish our goals. So we keep on working on this. And then we determine exactly who we should be marketing our group. Also, we need to document. We need to document because if not, we will forget. Document our roadmap to success. Involve the visitors. Whenever we have visitors, they just so love to be involved in our activities. Example here, we have a group practicing or playing the pre-Hispanic music. These are instruments that are done locally. They do not use electricity. We have the Mayan drums, we have the tungkul, we have the shakars, and visitors just love to be involved. We have the lady on the right-hand side. We're doing the tamales. Oh no, this is not tamales. This is a Mayan drink, the pozole. Here, the nixtamal, the corn, is grounded on the metate. That is the one that my mother, who was born in 1907, used. She had to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to grind maybe 5 quarts of this corn to feed 10 children. So we have the ladies involved. So and they just love to be involved. Because we have to involve the local community. In foods, we involve the ladies where they do their tamales, they do the chaya tamales, the chaya drink. We actively involve our youths, our women. Through education, leadership development, and behavioral transformation. So that is Kanan Miatsil in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Ms. Felicita. And to all our viewers, I apologize for the issues that we've been having with sharing the presentation. Yes, we're trying to get that sorted out. And we have another presentation coming up, so hopefully it will flow a little bit smoother. But thank you for your patience, and we'll move on to the presentation from BLAST.
Good afternoon once again, guys, ladies. Thank you for the opportunity to present our association to the group listening, to everyone listening. BLAST. Right. Most people in the tourism industry that are part of BLAST, well, everyone that is a part of BLAST have been in the industry for years. Some are new, some are vendors, some are guides, some are operators, right? Some are freelance, some have hotels. BLAST is basically was created and it was formed to capture all those who fell through the loophole over the years, who weren't represented. We were formed to be the voice, to be a voice for you, for all the local stakeholders in tourism. Many times you see things happening in Belize, plans, tourism moving forward, right? Decisions are made either by government or by those in charge, but no consultation to the local tourism operators or local stakeholders. And at the end of the day, the local stakeholders, they get trampled on. So this is the reason why when COVID came, we saw COVID as it was something, we thought it was something bad, but then we saw the light in it as well. Although it's something bad, we saw a light in it. We saw COVID as a reset for Belize. 2020 will have been a very great year for the country of Belize when it comes to tourism. We will have reached a high threshold when it comes to visitors arriving in Belize. So I believe COVID came to put a pause on us for a bit, and so we could get our gears together and to get back our local heritage and to get back the tourism the way that guests wants to come and see Belize. When a guest comes to Belize, when a tourist comes to Belize, they want to experience the culture, they want to experience Belize. They don't want to come in a bus, go to a site, see the site, get narrated, right? They want to feel the guide, they want to see where the guide lives, they want to taste Belize, they want to feel Belize. So that's where us as local stakeholders come in play, right? So when we created Blast, that is our objective, and that is still our objective, to show our guests and to get ourselves prepared for when the reopening. Many of us thought the reopening was going to be last October when the airport was scheduled to reopen. So what we did during that time when Blast was, the first thing we did was we said, you know what? In order to get prepared for guests to arrive, right? COVID is here and it's here to stay. We got to safeguard our families. We got to safeguard ourselves. We got to think about ourselves, not only the guests, right? It was rampant in the U.S. We had minimum cases of the virus in Belize, right? But still, we said, you know what? Let's see what we could do to safeguard guests when they come on our tour. So when we go home, we don't, if the virus comes into the country, we don't take this virus at home as well. So that was when our association came together, and I was very surprised, right? I think many others were surprised, even the tourism industry, probably those in the tourism ministry are probably surprised at what could happen if you actually consulted the local stakeholders. We had put together a safety manual, as we will say, not only for COVID, but for tourism in a whole, whether it be marine or mainland tourism. And the guidelines you must follow pre-tour, during tour, after tour, and the same concept we will use when it comes to the COVID, right? We decided that let's up our game, because that's what Blast is about. We're about uplifting the tourism industry. We're about uplifting ourselves. So we decided we're not going to go for the bottom or just the meager wipe your hands getting into the vehicle. We're going to go above and beyond to safeguard our families and our guests. So a lot of the operators, we came together, we pooled in, we got our resources, and we ordered stuff from the US, right? We got UVC lights, we had purifiers for our vehicles, we installed different stickers throughout the vehicles. We had face masks, shields, gloves. We are well prepared, right? We got our guides and our operators well prepared. And shortly after was when also the Belize Tourism Board came up with the gold standard, and that was right in line with what Blast was actually doing all along. So we helped our operators at that time to achieve the gold standard in tourism that the Ministry of Tourism was seeking at that time in order to operate. So most of the operators in Blast, we all got our gold standard certificate, so we could carry tours whenever the guests they come, right? Then shortly after, we said, you know what? The operators have been trained by the Belize Tourism Board, by the Ministry of Tourism. Let us put together a training so we could get our frontline personnel, which are the guides, because everyone knows that in Belize, the guides are actually the backbone of a tour company. The guide is the face of the country, right? So the guides are the ones that you should actually take care of if you're a part of government in Belize. Those are the people you should look after, right? So that was also when the COVID relief came about, and we started to help the guys to get their COVID relief, because without work, many guys were just living hand to mouth, as we would say in Belize, right? So we helped a lot of them to get their COVID relief. We helped pull out the farms. Some of the guides along the way, they got ill. They didn't have the resources. We came together as friends and families, the Blast family, tour guides, tour operators. We pulled together, got money together to help them. Some of them with surgery, others with other stuff. So we came together. It was very surprising to see how the local stakeholders just came together. To aid each other in a time like this. So we continue our training. We continue giving the guides and operators and the vendors training. We did practical trainings. We also did some theory training for the mainland and for the mainland and for the marine part of tourism. And we also didn't train just to be safe, but to be eco-friendly, right? To use chemicals or use stuff that is eco-friendly when on tour, because sometimes guests will come to Belize, they will have different allergy. So you want to use stuff that will help with these allergic problems whenever they come, so we don't have any issues further on the tour. So all the training, and also what a lot of the guides, operators, a lot of these operators and guides before they were into tourism, they were once fishermen, they were once farmers, they were once doing normal work, right? But they saw tourism as a way to make more money, right? Or they just love or have a passion to share about the Belizean culture, to share about Belize, to talk about Belize. That's their passion. So that's just something they like to do. So that's why they went into tourism. When COVID came, a lot of them moved back into their original fields, or what they grew up into, or what their parents or their grandparents was into. So that would be like fishing, that will be farming, constructions, and we actually came to realize that what we're doing, especially when it comes to agriculture or the fishing, we could incorporate a lot of this into the tourism when it actually returns, right? So we could probably put an agricultural tour along with a Mayan temple, or a heritage tour along with a Mayan temple, or incorporate. So we came with different ideas and see how we could incorporate them together in order to move forward for when the tourism comes about once again. So a lot of the challenges that we have been facing as BLAS, or as operators or local stakeholders in tourism, is just to meet your daily needs for your family, paying the bills or just getting by, right? Because a lot of local stakeholders still have the hope that things will return as per se it was before, right? So a lot of people are just trying to get by. Some have decided to do other stuff and to venture into other areas, right? Because they see tourism as a very fragile industry, right? So you never know what will happen in tourism. So a plan B will be best whenever you're in tourism. So a lot of them decide to do this second job of probably farming or agriculture, as I mentioned, fishing or construction as a second job, just in case, because you never know what could happen in the future. So what we at BLAS want to move forward, what we want to do while moving forward, is just to spread the word internationally, locally, that the local operators are prepared, right? Contrary to what you might hear, that only the big operators from international to come into country and do the tours and do it well. When you come to Belize, you come to experience Belize. So you come to be with the locals. You come to be a part of the locals. The locals have stepped up their game, right? We have safety at our front and at our most for you and our family. So you could be safe when you're on tour with us, right? We have actually have some guests. Just a quick story. We have had some guests and some experiences from operators sharing on our chat group that some of the tours that they've been carrying so far, the guests, they come and they're like, wow, we don't even have this back in the US or in the UK or in Canada. We have so much different things that we have in place to protect us and them, that they're really surprised when they say that what the locals actually, or the local stakeholders in Belize are, yes, they're actually prepared. So that's just the news or the message we want to send out there, that whenever you're coming to Belize, don't be afraid to book with a local operator, to go with a local guide, right? Once you're a part of the BLAST community, you could rest assured that they are fully equipped and fully trained, ready to meet your needs and to take care of you and keep you safe while in Belize. All right. So thank you guys, and thank you for listening. And I hope to see you all in Belize, or if you're here in Belize, you could book locally as well and experience Belize as you should experience it, as the culture and heritage, and be a part of us. Let a local stakeholder take care of you while you're here in Belize. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for that. Yes. Thank you so much for that presentation, and thank you to everyone on the panel. So looking at the three presentations, there were a lot of different thematic areas that came up that I'd love to touch on, but I'm sure that would lead our conversation to last very long. So I'll just pull up a few questions, and then maybe we could have a discussion on that. So some of the things that stood out from the BLAST presentation, first of all, BLAST, I believe, is one of the first or the only national association for tour guides. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nikolai, but it seems that before BLAST came about, there wasn't sort of an association that represented tour guides and tour operators, whether they are local or some of the larger operations in Belize. Is that correct? Or is BLAST the first tour operator or association for tour operators and tour guides?
They have been other associations that have been formed in Belize, which are Tour Guides Association, Tour Operators Association, but BLAS is more of an inclusive association, you could say, per se, right? We include tour operators. There are tour operators association that are part of us. We have tour guide association that are part of us. So we encompass the entire country of Belize. We want the tour operators, because we have noticed that in order to get things done, you got to come together and unite. So only by uniting, we'll be able to move forward, right? You will, with one voice. If you have different associations all over the country that are in tourism saying different stuff, right? Sometimes it just fall on the wayside. But if you have everyone under this one association and we're all saying the same stuff or the same thing, they will listen to you, right? So that's what BLAS is here for. We're here to unite. Tour Operators Association, Tour Guide Association, you could all be a part of BLAS. We're here with our arms open and ready to welcome you guys.
Wonderful. I think that sort of speaks back to the call for advocacy and action that Kelly spoke about. So, you know, putting all of these different needs, you spoke about challenges, you spoke about solutions, but speaking from one point where you have organized and sort of, like you mentioned, have that ability or that platform to represent a variety of needs throughout Belize. I sort of want to hear from you and Ms. Fell. As a local tour guide or tour operator, how important is it for you to sort of interact with community members who are the ones who have this living culture? So you spoke about representing Belize or showcasing Belize to tourists, but I imagine your first partner in that would be the local tourism or the local communities who have this culture, which then becomes transformed into the tourism product. Perhaps, Ms. Fell, since Nikolai jumped out for a little bit, tell me, how important is it for you to work with tour guides or local tour operators? Because, Ms. Fell, I imagine for you, you do these cultural activities because it is your culture and it is a way to learn and to preserve and to pass on. You teach the future generations, but a part of that preservation, is tied to tourism. So how important is it for community organizations like Ms. Fell to work with BLAST? And BLAST, how important is it for you to have a strong working relationship with community organizations like the one that Ms. Felicita represents?
This is for me?
Yes, it can be for you. And then
okay. No, I was kicked out just now. Yes, it is very important. As I mentioned, right now is a time to reset, right? Whenever a guest come to Belize or a visitor come to Belize, they come to experience our culture and our history. They come to be a part of Belize. So association like Miss Cantun's association will fit perfect, right? You could partner up with the different operators in your area and put together a tour, right? You could put together a tour that will showcase the culture, and that will help spread the culture in Belize more, spread the Mayan culture. You could show them, probably for the, especially this is for the overnight visitors, you could probably put together a package, right, and have like a Mayan ball game competition, right, where you have a full day Mayan adventure. So you show them the different dances, you show them the different culture. People will come to Belize and they will pay for something like that, right? Because when they go to the Mayan temple, all we could do is as a guide is talk about it, right? And we could tell them use your imagination. Now imagine if they could go to Miss Cantun village and actually experience it, and we could say, guys, you don't have to use your imagination anymore. You can experience it for fun right here, right? So this is where the associations could work together, and it will work out perfectly in moving forward after COVID or during COVID.
And for you, Miss Fel, how important is it for the preservation of your culture, or for you as somebody who puts on these cultural activities to to collaborate and to have a strong working relationship with the local tour guides and tour organizations? Do you find that local tour guides come to your organization? Do they promote your stuff? Do they bring tourists to your activities?
Well, that would be the a perfect situation. However, Kanan Miatsil got started just to promote our culture because, um, especially we found that youths and were not so much into our culture. They would prefer like things from America, what they see, what they hear. So this was the reason why we started Kanan Miatsil and why we have the children, the youths involved. Surprisingly, they are so much into it. Our Ekbalam members, they would say, you know what, Maestra? I prefer pok-tapok Mayan ball game than football. So it was surprising to see how they embrace their culture. Our dances, our dances, we have youths who do the dances. However, we have a problem. And I know if we would work with tourism association, that would solve our problem. Because we cannot eat our language. We cannot eat our dances. We cannot eat our games. These youths must earn a living. Therefore, Kanan Miatsil's problem is after so much training, we train the girls to perfect their dances, the youths to perfect their dances. We train the boys to win World Cup championship. And then at the end of the day, there's nothing for them. They cannot make a living out of this. Like maybe once in a while we would get invited to go and show up, then we go. But that is just once in a while. And bills must be paid. Students must pay for their education. So what do? You say, well, ni modos, I have to find a job. It's because our activities do not form part of a job for them. So it would be great if we could work with associations where these youths and these women can earn a living through their activities. For example, we have these women who do nice tamales. We have our best chefs who do the nice cochinita pibil. And the real cochinita pibil, the one that is cooked underground. But then, if they're, how would we say, si no se consume, no se produce. If it's not being consumed, why would we produce it? So these ladies, okay, ni modos, I have to go to Belize City for a job. The men, they say, okay, ni modos, I have to go to San Pedro to find a job. So that is one of our challenges. But I am sure if we could work with the Tourism Association to make this an activity where the youths and the women or the members of our Kanan Miatsil can earn a living through these activities, that would be heaven right here on earth.
That sort of
Can I-
brings up,
Can I
sorry,
add
go
to
ahead.
that a little bit, Sylvia? So,
Yes, go ahead, Kelly.
so kind of just to connect a couple of dots from what I'm hearing. From my perspective, again, I work closely speaking to travelers. ITA represents the community of travelers. And for everyone within the industry, I think everyone has seen this rise over the years that travelers want local immersive experiences where they're really able to connect with local community projects and learn more about the culture of the destinations they're visiting, such as Felicita, your project. Everything that you've put together sounds amazing. And I know, like, sitting here in New York City, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I want to go and do that. And having organizations like Blast that are able to come in and then say, great, we've thought about resources for you, like running your business or thinking of safety measures, then that adds that extra layer of security to kind of let you focus more on what you're building and preserving your local community and culture, working in tandem with those industry organizations, and then having travelers find and visit them. And that's all kind of this cycle that then leads to more travelers being able to come and visit your destination and do so in a responsible and ethical way. And I saw that in the chat, we had Alex asking the question for what tour operators and guides can do to make tours more inclusive and try to improve after COVID. And I would really just highlight the importance of keeping voices like Felicita's top of mind when we're kind of going through this process and saying, okay, how are we going to build back? How are we going to build back in a more sustainable and impactful way so that we're not just going back to what tourism looked like before? We can actually do so in a better and more improved way. And then that starts to dive into questions like asking Felicita, okay, we have travelers who want to come and visit you. How do we make sure that they are, that we're not exploiting your culture, or we're doing so in a way that's really having a positive impact on your local community? So including those local voices, indigenous voices, voices from female entrepreneurs are all things to keep top of mind in terms of how we're rebuilding. And again, those are all different puzzle pieces of, there's not one part of the industry that's able to fix everything. We have to work together and really listen to each other's voices and needs in order to build back in a more sustainable and impactful way that has a better impact on our world.
Thank you very much for that, Kelly. And I think that sort of, yes, covers what Alex asked, and also the question that Ella asked about the potential of tourism for endangering authentic cultures. And I think, like you mentioned, if you include the community voices like Ms. Felicita at the inception of these projects and throughout every aspect of these projects, then you ensure that their needs are represented, that their needs are at the forefront. And I imagine one of those, areas would be to ensure that tourism doesn't have a negative impact on whatever cultural aspects they put forward. We also had a question from Ms. Kelsey Cuevas asking what would be one of the greatest challenges in engaging local communities and indigenous groups in tourism. And from what I'm hearing from Ms. Fell, it is more of a matter that local community groups want to be involved. And one of the challenges is, as Ms. Fell mentioned, having engaging in tourism in a way that allows a source of income throughout the entire year or long term. And I think what we had seen in the past is that tourism was highly seasonal. So we had a high season and a low season. And in that low season, a lot of the times the gaps weren't filled in by local tourism. So in Belize, when we think of tourists, we don't think local tourists, we think foreign and international tourists. And one of the things that, in my opinion, COVID has showed us is how much we relied on not only tourism, but the sort of international tourists. And what we're also seeing in the tourism industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nikolai, but we're seeing a pivot toward tourism experiences that are catered to the Belizean tourist. So being a traveler or visitor in your own backyard, as the Minister of Tourism and the Belize Tourism Board would say. And we're seeing organizations like the Belize Hiking Group come up and putting together, acting as local tour guides and tour operators, but also putting out tours for Belizeans. And one of your points that you bring across would be the importance of having voices like Ms. Fells, but also a lot of the other local voices be present in the creation of these tourism products. And in a way, Ms. Fell, I see you as a tour operator as well, because although these activities that you put forward is a way of preserving your culture, you're also providing a tourism product. And I think this sort of goes back to seeing the unseen that Kelly mentioned, sort of seeing the different roles that you play in society and the different ways that you can interact. Because Ms. Fell, your tourism product to me is enough that you can say, hi Blast, I want to join your organization because I am a community member. I have these cultural activities, but this is also something that I open up to people. And by that definition, I am a local tour operator. And seeing those types of conversations happen is...
Going back to the question, I think I had answered the question that was posted there. The challenges. After training the youths, they leave us, and then we are back to square one again. So if we could join and then make things happen so that it becomes a way of living. They don't have to go to San Pedro. They don't have to go to Belize City. They stay home, and then we practice, and then we do things, no? So that is one of our major challenges.
I think one of the things too, Ms. Cantun, is Ms. Phil, is like when we met with the Ministry of Tourism, the Minister of Tourism, one of the things we mentioned to them was that most of the time when they advertise Belize abroad, they will highlight San Pedro or Cayo, and you have Orange Walk, you have Corozal, you have Toledo, right? Or they will highlight Placencia. If you could highlight a lot of the culture happening in the different areas, then the guests will come and want to go to those areas to experience that as well, right? Or you could have some type of aid to the areas so that they could have ads or something to advertise themselves, right? Because one of the biggest challenge I know that the local stakeholders will face, we are already facing it, right? But it has come up already. We have met and with the those in charge of tourism, and we'll see what will happen. Is the reopening for the cruise tourism. We have taken all of these training. We have been prepared. All of our operators or guides, they know tourism and safety like the back of their hands, right? Now the bigger operators from outside, they're telling us that when cruise tourism reopens, the local operators, they don't have a place in it. It has to be, first phase will be only for the big, those contracted with the big cruise ships, right? I don't see that as something fair for us here in Belize. Local operators investing thousands of dollars on their equipment and their vehicles. I think that when we vote in I'm going to go, I'm going to go off a little right now, right? But when we vote in a government or those in tourism or whoever is in charge, we vote them to be a voice for us. That's what they're there for, right? So at the end of the day, if it's not benefiting their people, then that should be a no outright, just like that. We have been suffering in COVID for over a year, coming March, surviving without them, right? So if you put and tell them no, Belize, whenever a cruise comes to Belize, we have the most to offer when it comes to our cruise line. They make their most money here in Belize than any other stop. We have the most activities to offer on the mainland. They need to come to Belize, right? They want to come to Belize. So it's easy. Look, my local operators, the local stakeholders, we have been trained by the BTB. We have gold standards. We have our equipments, right? Look at when the COVID came about. Look at when COVID came about and the relief. All these big operators that makes millions. I'm talking over $20 million a year in profit just from coming to Belize. Not one guide. If you could point to one guide that's employed by them that was helped, I will come off right now. Not the guides, they are part of Blast, and they told not one of them was actually helped. We actually had to email these big companies and tell them, look, sign up these guys and need their COVID relief, but why they didn't do it? Because they don't pay tax. So they're afraid to get them run up on, I guess, by the government or by whoever. So they tell them this doesn't have anything to do with tax. Just send in your list that these guys are employed by you. You're over there still sipping your coffee or playing golf or polo or whatever the heck you're playing. Sorry. But these guys are here suffering, right? So that's what we're facing. So this needs to change. We need those that we put in charge to stand up for us and to let them know that we are ready and that we want to be on the front line. We should be the first, not the last.
And I think sort of the concerns and challenges that you bring up are the reasons why lives like this are important. And like Kelly mentioned, movements like this are important, where you look at diversity, you look at inclusion of all of those diverse communities of people at all points. And I'm really happy to see BLAST come together as this national inclusive organization that then puts the concerns that the local tour guides and tour operators have at a public platform. And sort of from a point where you can influence and advocate for change. And I'm looking forward to also the inclusion in BLAST, both in your network, but also in the tourism products that you offer of smaller organizations or community-based organizations like similar to those of Miss Fells. Yes. Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. I want to bring forward one of the comments that we have. So Mr. Garcia mentioned that this forum is enlightening and we will now incorporate a live cultural experience in our program. So I think comments like these bring forward the importance of having these open discussions about diversity, having these open discussions about inclusion. To be able to at least inspire, to show other people that there are different actionable strategies that you can take on immediately to have a more diverse product. And that only means that you have more diverse people supporting your business endeavors. We have one last question that we will address, and then we will wrap up this live. And this question comes from Ms. April Martinez. It says, what advice do you have for Belizeans to get involved in local sustainable tourism? Which I think is an extremely, extremely important point. I'll start off by saying, join the Belize Hiking Group Facebook page. They have been doing a lot when it comes to tours. They have sunrise tours, they have sunset tours. It is a hiking group, so it is socially distanced. It is there for people who want to be more active, who have sort of been cooped up in your house for too long. And it's really great for mental health. So my personal advice would be join an organization like Belize Hiking Group, who has been doing a lot to promote local tourism, but also to be inclusive in the tours that they offer. But also, I'd also say reach out to different organizations too and see some of the products that they have been putting out. But for the panel, what advice do you have for Belizeans to get involved in local sustainable tourism?
Local sustainable tourism.
I can share more like industry information if that's useful.
Yes, please.
As if you are a business owner, any type of tourism business owner, I would recommend getting involved with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. That's the GSTC. And they have a set of criteria where you can learn more about sustainable tourism, incorporate it into your business. And ultimately, the GSTC is an accreditation program. So you can also, if you're certified already, you can make sure that that certification aligns with the Global Sustainable Tourism, their council's values as well. And that reflects, again, an industry-wide global organization that's really the most trusted organization to get involved in. If you're looking to get involved in building a local community, Impact Travel Alliance, of course, that's what we're working on with our team. We do have local chapters around the world, and local chapters build communities within their own destinations. And we provide a global platform to help them share their voice and really, again, amplify the reach and voices of locals and oftentimes smaller sustainable tourism projects that are happening on the ground, so we can highlight those and promote them to a global audience. And last but not least, Sylvia, to your point, just on an individual level, it's great to go out and connect with other organizations, learn more about what other local organizations are doing, which ones you can get involved with, and hopefully start to bridge the gap between all of these different sustainable efforts that are happening on a local level, and then tie those into broader global levels as well.
Thank you
Okay,
for that,
one
Kanan.
advice for Miss April. Just a short advice. I would say, just stop being negative. Be positive. Be positive in your plans, in your endeavors, in your activities. Be positive.
I think that sort of goes to what Kelly was saying about seeing the unseen, sort of looking at looking beyond when it comes to some of these local tourism activities and seeing it as something that is culturally immersive and seeing it as a privilege to be able to share in the culture of some of these local communities, and seeing it as an anthropologist. I'll tie that back into my area of study. And for you, Nikolai, at Blast, how can Belizeans get involved in local sustainable tourism?
The biggest advice would be to leave the house. Put the phone down. Put the
Social
phone down. Get off the computer. Get off the Wii. Get off the games. Right. Get outside and go on a tour. Right. Go experience. Guest visitors come to Belize. They pay thousands of dollars just to see what you have in your backyard. Right. You've been living there all your life. Go and experience the south of Belize, the north of Belize. Go and get it firsthand, so that when you meet others, you could actually share the experience. If you have a gift shop, or if you have a restaurant, someone comes there, hey, a visitor comes, hey, I'm planning to go and see this. Oh, you actually have the experience to tell them about it, or to give them advice. Hey, you know what? If you go over this area, you could actually really experience the culture here in Belize, or you could really get to be a part, or feel like you're a part of Belize, right? So just get outside and do something. Jump on your bike, go take a ride, right, through the jungle, or visit the unknown, right?
To add to what Nikolai has just mentioned, please, whenever you go out, please do so in a safe manner.
Wear a
Social
mask.
distance and wear your PPEs, personal protective equipment. But also a very, very good point, Nikolai. So there are there is so much to see in Belize, and there's so much different ways to get engaged. We have a comment by Mr. Charles Waits here, who said that it is imperative to invest in videography and platforms to disseminate content. Virtual cannot happen without a lens, and partnering with production companies can help. That is very, very true. To be able to see some of what Belize has to offer, I'd say local tour operators, companies, groups like Miss Felicita need to have that videography and that digital media and that social media platform active. But if you are a Belizean and you have challenges or you don't know where to go or what to do, I would suggest doing a little bit of research. There are a lot of organizations out there who are doing what Charles mentioned, or Charlie, sorry, Mr. Waite mentioned. There are pushing their local tourism initiatives on social media. The Belize Audubon Society, for example, has a lot of parks that are open, that are outdoors, that are socially distanced. You have, again, the Belize Hiking Group. You have Blast. They have information on their Facebook page. There is also organizations like Heritage Education Network Belize. We have a listing of local artisans. We have and tour guides, tour operators. So there are blogs on that. If you are interested in experiencing, having a cultural experience or buying a cultural product, we have recently started a partnership with Ecomatic as well. So we have been working on getting sustainable tourism experiences and businesses listed on various websites and various social media pages. So you can find content on Heritage Education Network Belize's website. You can also go to other websites and social media pages. Belizing.com, for example, has a whole bunch of listing and resources. Caribbean Lifestyle Magazine is always putting together tips and ideas for weekend tours, for evening tours. You know, if you want to experience living culture, if you want to support a local gift shop vendor or gift shop owner. So there's a bunch of resources already online, and a like or a share or being interactive or engaging on somebody's social media account also goes a long way into promoting what these local tourism businesses are. So those would be the suggestions and I would have. And with that being said, I think we've come to the end of sort of this panel discussion. I'd like to thank our viewers, everyone who tuned in. I would like to thank our panel. Ms. Felicita, thank you for joining us. Nikolai, thank you very much for joining us. Kelly, thank you very much for taking out the time to put together this presentation and the industry related content and for joining us and sharing. And to our viewers, thank you very much. Again, there are a bunch of links out there that are available. We will link the Sustainable Tourism Council information in this chat. This video will be available on YouTube and on Facebook so that people can engage or reshare or rewatch if they're interested. And yes, does anyone from the panel have any last words?
Stay safe, guys.
Stay safe.
Thank you so much. I think I hope you got to learn something about something positive about this presentation, and see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
And one more thing to those planning to visit the Belize, remember the locals are prepared and we're ready to keep you guys safe. All right. Don't be afraid to book with a local operator or a guide. And whenever you're here, buy local from the local carvers. You could always meet the best carvers on the street or the best vendors walking in the street selling their products. Right?
You can meet the best embroidery ladies in Kanan, Miatsil.
Thank you for that, Ms. Phil, and I do agree. Your jewelry is really great as well. All right, and with that, thank you very much for everyone who joined in, and and goodbye until next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.